This is the Love and Fitness Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the tips that we think are most important for a successful relationship. All right, so we're here today with Sherrie, my wife. I'm Justin, I'm the husband. And we decided to start a podcast to kind of talk about our journey of love and fitness. So some of the episodes will have to do with relationships. Some of them will have to do with working out or both, potentially. But today we kind of got together and thought, what should our first episode be about? And we thought, let's just give some things that we think are really important in successful relationships. So go ahead and start off.
All right. We're in no particular order here. We're going to start off with friendship.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of couples out there and you wonder yourself, like, are they even friends?
Like they're at dinner together, they're on their phones separately, not saying a word to each other. Yeah.
Or, something happens to them and the first thing they do is text somebody else that's not their partner. Like, I got a raise, and they're telling their best friend instead of their significant other, who I believe really should be your best friend.
Absolutely.
Right. I know, and you'll learn a little bit about our kind of past and our relationships, which I think we both had a lot of negative relationships. I think that helped us to be ready for a relationship with each other. And especially the things that we want and the things we didn't want. But I think friendship is huge. Sherrie and I started off as friends, and that friendship built into a romantic relationship, but the friendship was there first. We had a lot of things in common, and that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, so I think with friendship, though, that's a solid base to any relationship.
Yeah. After that, this is something that Sherrie and I don't know if we were on the same page on this when we first got together or not, but going to bed at the same time.
I think we were.
Were we? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was just the no TV in the bedroom.
Yeah.
That was something I had to get used to.
So to me, I can't concentrate when television's on. Or I can't fall asleep, right? There's something going on in the background. And in anything, there's tons of studies that tell you shouldn't have a television in your bedroom. Your bed should be for two things, sleeping or sex. So not laying watching TV, not reading books. Ideally, it'd be impossible, but for Sherrie and I to get rid of our phones maybe in bed, it's impossible. But
only like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. But I do know some couples that have this crazy schedule that just, it doesn't match up.
Yeah.
Like, one spouse goes to bed, the other one goes to bed 2 or 3 or 4 hours later. And it might sound controversial, but I feel like you're setting yourself up for these different schedules and to be doing different things separate from each other. And not that you have to be together all the time, but I don't know, going to bed together, I think is really important.
I agree.
Now, we wake up a little bit different. I wake up probably an hour and a half before Sherrie. And I do all the tough stuff, like get the dogs fed and take them out to the bathroom and everything.
He's a good dad dog.
Yeah.
Dad dog. Yes.
Dog dad.
Dog dad.
Close. But for us, I think it just gives you that closeness that you're going to bed together. Like it's all right, let's go to bed. Instead of, I'll be in bed in 2 or 3 hours. I'm going to sit up and watch this television show, or I'm going to scroll Instagram and look at dudes' biceps for another hour and a half before we go to bed. Right. So
that's Justin looking at dudes.
Yeah.
Not me.
Definitely.
But along the lines with the whole TV thing too, like that was something I had to get used to in the beginning. Now I can't imagine if there was a television, I would fall asleep to it before. Now I have to have the noise machine going. It has to be pitch black in the room. Like it's just totally different. And I feel like I do. I definitely sleep more and better.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Quality of sleep is improved there as well.
So next thing that we think is really important is not letting outsiders, especially family and friends. I've had a lot of families that interfere in relationships. Learning how to set boundaries with their family and friends.
I agree. I've not really, well, of course I agree on this, but I've not really experienced the whole family thing. My family is very supportive, and I think they're very respectful. And I don't think that I've ever been with anyone that their family was just.
Yeah. I've been with multiple people where their families are so involved with their life that it's just like, it's almost like they're still living at home. Yeah. And you have to visit your parents every other weekend, traveling hours to do that. Every holiday has to be spent with the family. And it's just kind of like, for me, my family lives far away. I love them. But, separation for me is a good thing. Like, I'm an adult. I am my own person now. I have, my own life, my own relationships. And, family, it just, to me, I don't want to say it's not important, but it's definitely not the cornerstone of my existence. Whereas some people, it's like they just can't separate from their parents or their sister or their brother or whoever it is. And then anything that goes on in the relationship, they're sharing with those people.
Yeah.
And those people are giving that feedback back of like, well, here's what you should do. And of course, that's going to be a one-sided argument because they're going to take your side most likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you have to have boundaries where it's, hey, here's my, my relationship in my marriage. You're my mom, you're my dad. This is your role in my life. Your role is not to be my therapist, right? Because you're not going to share everything probably. You're not going to share the negative things you do with your mom and dad to let them know, hey, this is why we're fighting because I did this. It's like, oh, Sherry's mean. She wants me to put all the dishes in the dishwasher all the time.
Yeah, it's basically turns into complaining about your
complaining about
spouse.
your other. And that goes into another thing. Having support and just kind of always being on the same team. I know Sherry definitely shared with me that this is something that in her past relationships kind of struggled with, feeling like her partner was supporting her.
Yeah, I felt very alone. Anything that came up, it felt like it was always him versus me, and nothing I did was right. He wasn't my team.
Yeah. I think, some people are so insecure in themselves that they don't want to see you be successful, right? Because if you're a success, you don't need them. And I would say that from what I've heard of your previous relationship, that sounds like probably what was going on.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't really experience that much on my side of things. But I could see where sometimes maybe I wasn't on the person's team because I didn't really like the person that much, and maybe I didn't want them to be successful. But for us, it's been very important to always be supportive. Like when Sherry had her previous job, and she would talk about the things that were frustrating her at work, I would never jump and be like, well, what did you do wrong?
Exactly. Well, what did you do to contribute to that?
Yeah. Why does your boss not like you? What are you doing wrong? Well, it could be that her boss is just crazy or, the HR person's trying to look out for themselves or you never know. I mean, at their core, most people are going to look out for themselves. And I will automatically take Sherry's side until I have a reason to not, right? Instead of the opposite.
Yeah. And again, with that taking sides, we're very upfront, like what we did in that situation. So I think that, and I've always been that way. So it's not like it was me trying to skate around the fact that I did something that maybe contributed to the outcome of whatever it was. But so I think we're pretty upfront, like, hey, this is my flaw. This is what I did. What could I have done differently? Or just asking for some sort of support. Or was I crazy? I ask that all the time. Was I crazy to think that? Was I crazy to do that?
And a lot of times your partner's trying to just get some support from you. They don't really even need you to solve their problem. It's just kind of like, okay, I'm here to listen. Right? I don't need to give you my feedback on why or why not you did this or did that wrong. But I think a lot of times people are just, it's like they want to blame that person. Like, what did you do? I can't believe, why did you get written up? What happened? It's like, I'm sure there's a reason, but you didn't really ever get written up. So that's not a great example.
Let's go back and say, no, that never happened. So
that's not a great example.
I was a really good employee. So
yeah. So our next thing that I think is really important for us, and this has been a challenge, I think, for both of us, for sure, is to embrace your partner's flaws. And I don't like to think of them as flaws. I like to think more like quirks. Mm-hmm. So one of Sherry's flaws, if you could say that, would be that she likes the house very, very tidy and clean.
Just a little OCD.
And is that a flaw? I don't think it's a bad thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's different than I've lived my entire life. Like everywhere I've ever been, every other human I've ever lived with, partners or roommates, it's been acceptable to leave dishes in the dishwasher or not fold clothes immediately when they're done. Have things folded not the exact perfect way. So I don't know that that's a flaw that Sherry has. I think it's a quirk, but it takes getting used to. Right?
I'd say you probably have that same quirk at the gym.
Yeah.
which is something I don't understand because you don't live at the gym, whereas you live at home. So I would think you would want your home to be cleaner.
Well, the difference is at the gym, I'm not in control. When I'm not here, people are doing whatever they want. They're putting ropes back where they want or dumbbells go wherever they want. At home, I know that my laundry's sitting on top of my dresser, and I'll eventually get to it. I know where it is. Nobody else is going to go in there and move it from the dresser to the couch to the bed to somewhere else, who knows where. So I think that's why I'm not as OCD at home.
No, but somebody is going to move it from the dresser and fold
that
it and
person
put
is
it
named
away.
Sherry. And half the time I'm like, where's my stuff?
Messes.
Where's my stuff? That was the other thing. So I used to think that when Sherry would say mess, the word mess to me or dirty makes me think that somebody's gross or they're dirty or they're like filthy person.
No, it's dirty. Dirty's dirty. That is filthy. Messy is totally different.
I had to, and early on, we actually got in a couple pretty big arguments about that because it hurt my feelings. I'd be like, what do you mean I'm messy? I'm not a dirty human. Like, I don't know what you mean. Those clothes are clean. They're not dirty clothes. I'm not leaving, pizza under the bed overnight.
That would be dirty, not messy.
Right. So learning kind of your partner's
lingo too.
makes a big difference. But if your partner had so for example, Sherry's really been amazing about this. Some people may not know, but I have pretty high functioning anxiety. Like sometimes it's really hard to function. Sometimes it's easy, but even today I'm like on edge for no reason. I don't know why. Like there's nothing bad's happened. Some days it's just like, I have this feeling I can't help it. And I'm like edgy and, everything she says, I'm probably a little bit short with her. And that's not fair to her. But I also a lot of times don't know that it's happening. Like it's just, I don't know. I've always kind of been that way. And it's not an excuse, but I have. And, she's been really good about being as supportive as possible. I'm sure it's super annoying. And I know it probably is. But I don't know. I think, and as we've been together longer, I think she can start to see when it's happening and maybe not take things personally.
There's two types of anxiety that you suffer.
Yeah.
And I get one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're on edge and you just don't know what's going on. I understand that because I have it too.
Yeah.
But the other things that you struggle with when you get worked up, I don't understand that. Yeah. I don't understand.
So what she's talking about is I have a thing, it's called emetophobia, and I'm really afraid of throwing up. It's like some kind of control thing with me where like if I'm throwing up, I'm not in control, my body's in control. Even talking about it makes me start to get anxious. A lot of people actually have it the more research. I didn't know what it was for the longest time. I would avoid, and I still do avoid certain things. Like I won't go on a boat. I won't ride in the backseat of a car. If I'm flying, I have to take some kind of medicine to make sure I don't get motion sickness. A long time I wouldn't eat sushi. If something's been sitting out for X amount of time, like it's going in the trash. Like I'm not going to eat it. If something's past the date, like if it's the sell by date, it's gone. Like I'm not going to even try. So yeah, that's hard to understand. And I don't even know where that stuff came from. I've been working on it. Like we eat sushi now.
Well, you've come a long way.
Flights, like sometimes they're great. Sometimes they're not so great. Yeah. It just depends. But I've been learning how to work through it, but she's been very supportive of those. I would say that's a flaw for sure, not a quirk. But
and I try to talk you off of it, saying I ate the same thing. I'm feeling fine, but I can't help there.
It's hard.
It just doesn't,
because sometimes it doesn't really. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. In my head, it's like that doesn't mean anything. It's too late. No. Like once the cycle started, it started. Yeah. But she's been really, really great about that. So another thing that I've seen couples just do this in front of me, or I know Sherry's seen it as well. In fact, we had some members at the gym that the guy would, basically call his wife an effing idiot to her face in front of people. And that's, don't talk negative about your partner pretty much ever, I think, right? Or especially in front of other people.
Well, in front or behind their back. Like,
it's just I could never imagine saying, Sherry, you're an effing idiot in front of 3 or 4 people. Like,
or ever. He would never do that to me. Is that so disrespectful?
It's one of those things where it's, how can you trust your partner if you're speaking poorly about them?
I don't think I've ever felt that way towards you where I would even think about saying that to you.
Yeah. No, never. Everyone gets annoyed with each other, I think. Little stuff like, Oh, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head because there's nothing big. We usually kind of take care of stuff as it comes up. But yeah, just having this feeling of disdain for the person that you're with. I just, if that's going on in your relationship, like one, you're probably not in the right relationship, or two, like if you want to keep that relationship going, like probably time to get some help.
Yeah.
Right. I've been in therapy multiple times. I think it's helped a lot over the years to kind of figure out why do I do certain things. Didn't fix me, right? I still have some issues, but it helped me to understand when things are happening, why they're happening, and maybe I can stop them sooner than later. But yeah, that's a big thing for us is, I don't think I've ever said something negative about you to anybody.
No.
Honestly, and that's being honest. Like even, to my mom or dad or somebody else, like I've never been like, oh, I can't believe Sherrie does this. I hate it so much. I don't want
anyone to think of you negatively. Like I just don't.
Yeah, because to me, you're the best person. You're my best friend, and you're the person that I married, and there's a reason why we did that, right?
Right.
So I don't understand that. The next one probably be, and we're still working on this, but it's learning how to just obviously communication, right? Everyone's like, oh, make sure you can communicate with your partner, but learning things like, oh, if I tell Justin he's messy, he might freak out, right? Or understanding that if we're in a rush to leave the house, that Sherrie's going to feel extra rushed. Yeah. If I'm like, hey, we got to go, let's go. And I did today. I'm like, I'm waiting in the car, hey, it's time to go. And I don't know. So I'm not that great about learning, I guess.
Yes, you are.
But, just learning how to talk to each other and say, here's how I'm feeling. Here's how, here's how this affects me. Here's how that affects me. When you say that I'm messy, it makes me feel like this. Or, I don't know.
Yeah. I think getting to know yourself, knowing yourself really does help. Why you are the way you are, why you think saying you're messy means you're dirty. Like knowing those things about yourself and then learning how to communicate that with someone else. Like, hey, this is what hurts my feelings. This is what, this is not a good way to approach me.
Yeah.
Knowing I don't like to be rushed. If you rush me, I get anxious. I get sweaty. Like it's a disaster.
Or knowing people's sore spots. So I know that Sherrie was in a relationship before where the guy would always pay attention to whatever other female was in the room. Mm-hmm. Always, right? Hey, who's that over there? I'm going to go give her so much attention. And so I need her to understand that, I'm not looking, to me, she's the most beautiful girl in the room always. And there's no reason for me to look at it. Well, I don't even need a reason. It's not something that I do.
No.
But
I've never felt that way with you.
But it's something that's underlying there. It's there because for 10 years, she was having to react to somebody that was, constantly looking for interest from other females, right? So if I, knowing that, go up to some girl and give her a bunch of attention and don't bring Sherrie over to introduce her, or laughing and joking with somebody else, I could see how that would make you uncomfortable. So knowing,
same thing if I were doing the same thing.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Because I actually had a very similar situation where, an ex would talk to guys all the time and in a very inappropriate way. And I didn't care as much. I think it's because I wasn't really into that person so much. Or people, it's actually happened with more than one person. But I can see how that's hurtful. And that's just one of those things that you have to know where your partners come from and understand how to navigate those things.
Agreed.
Yeah. Another one that is don't be afraid to argue, right? I think, I'll tell you for me, my relationship before Sherrie, we never argued. And I used to brag about it. Oh man, our relationship is so great. We don't ever fight. We never fight. Everything's great. Everything's great. But really, if we would have fought, I'm glad we didn't, but maybe some things that were sitting under the surface would have come through sooner, than a one-day explosion and that relationship was over.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas Sherrie and I, we argue, I don't know, we have a tracker that tracks it. It's very less frequent than you would think. Maybe once a month, maybe. And it's usually not huge arguments.
No, they're little ones.
Little tiny stuff. But that helps us to navigate the bigger arguments that if they ever do pop up. Yeah. Right? You have to argue. We're two different people even
no one
though
is happy all the time.
no, I'm like 99% of the time I'm not happy.
Unless they've got great medication.
Yeah. And happy meaning that everything's great, right? Like I would say my life is pretty fantastic.
I agree.
My marriage is great. Our business isn't doing bad. Like day to day, like I don't have anyone that tells me what to do other than Sherrie. So overall things are really, really great. But, when you argue, it's her perspective, and it's not even, I don't know, it is an argument, right? But it doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be, this is what I believe, you're an idiot, I hate you, let me go talk to my friends and tell them how stupid you are. It can be, hey, here's how I feel, here's why I feel this way. You can tell me your side of things, and then we'll figure out that I was right.
Yeah, no.
Correct?
No.
That's usually how it goes. So after that, another big thing for us is being willing to say, I'm sorry. So after you have an argument, being willing to sit down and just say, hey, I was being an idiot. And that happens to me a lot. Sometimes when you're in the middle of an argument, you just become stubborn. And it's really weird. I know it's happening, and I can't stop it.
But you're really good at saying sorry.
Yeah.
I am not the best.
Yeah. Sherrie's getting a little bit better. Usually I say sorry, and then her sorry is a little more like maybe she cries and gives me a hug, and I know that she's saying she's sorry in a different way. But she's getting better. Every so often I'll just be stubborn, and it's dumb because I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm not going to do anything until she says she's sorry. I'm not going to be the first one to say it. But then you're just wasting another half of a day being upset with each other. When you could just say you're sorry.
And in the moment when I'm so angry and I just want it to be over with and I want to say sorry, but just saying those words sometimes, I don't know, it's just so hard for me.
Well, I think saying you're sorry makes it seem like you were wrong, right? Like if I apologize, then I was wrong.
That my feelings aren't valid, I guess.
Right. And I do my best to make sure that Sherrie knows her feelings are always valid. Always. Like, even if I don't agree with them, right? Well, those are your feelings. I understand why you have them, but here's the real truth, right? Like, I think that's really important is, to validate your partner and let them know, like I see where you're coming from. I don't understand where you're coming from, maybe. And I don't know that I agree with where you're coming from, but I at least understand, or I try to see your point of view, but here's my point of view. So and maybe you don't understand my point of view. Maybe you don't get why, I don't know, folding clothes is the big thing, I guess. That's how unhealthy our relationship is that our folding clothes is the big issue of the day, or leaving a spoon in the sink when I put the bowl away and I didn't put the spoon, and I don't even know that I did it. Sometimes she'll point it out and I'll be like, I thought that I put the spoon away.
I will say it's 50% better.
Yeah.
50% of it went in the dishwasher.
It's 100% better, and 50% of the time it's not 100% better. 90% of the time.
Do that math.
Yeah. Yeah. So finally, our final tip is has to do with physical, right? And I know for us that sex is probably one of the most important things in a gauge of how our relationship is doing. We've been lucky enough that we haven't had like big spurts of time that have gone on where we haven't been intimate with each other. But I think that's because it's on, like, we make it important. It's a very important part of our, I don't want to say schedule, but we have a tracker at home that we started in January. We said, hey, we're tracking a bunch of other habits. And as a joke, we said, hey, let's track sex as well, just to kind of see. Cause I don't know. I remember I used to lay in bed sometimes and be like, we never have sex. What? That used to be a thing that we would argue about. I'm like, I want to have sex tonight. She's like, well, I'm really tired. Or opposite, right? We never have sex. Or we fight when you're fighting. We fight all the time. We're always fighting. So I said, well, let's track it. Let's see what's true. And what's funny is we don't argue at all, hardly. Once a month, maybe. I think our last real argument was in like March, maybe early April. I'd have to look at the tracker, but it's not this month.
No.
And we're almost through the month. And
doesn't mean we don't get upset with each other.
No, you can get annoyed.
But they're not fights. They're little nothings. So
I think like anything else, when you actually start putting it down on paper and you hold yourself accountable and you're saying like, hey, why has it been 3 days since we had sex? What's like, maybe we should have sex. Like, it's important. For me, it's like having that physical connection with the person.
Yeah.
And just like giving a kiss good morning and kiss good night, to me, that's not enough. Right? I need that actual physical intimacy, where we make each other feel really good.
Yeah, I feel like if it's been a prolonged period of time, which, just a few days for us, then we do start to feel like something's off, where we just don't feel that same closeness.
Yeah, there's just this connection that happens, when you have sex with your partner. I think that there's no way that you're too busy or too tired to not have sex multiple times a week. I mean, if I looked at our tracker for this month, I think we're at like 20 times. What is today? No, that's not true. What's today?
I don't even know.
21st?
Yes.
We're at 16 or something. But still, I mean, it's like really good. It's a really good amount. I mean, we're both in our 40s. It's not like I'm a 20-year-old kid, that can have sex at a moment's notice. But it's important to us. And I feel like when we have sex, the more sex that we have, the more that I want to.
Agreed.
Instead of just, it's been 3 or 4 days. I guess let's do it. All right, see you next week. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes the attraction grow even more, I think.
Right. And I think, for us, we're together 99.9% of the time, I would say, all the time. And my attraction is only growing. It's not getting less. So, yeah, for me, like, if there's one thing you could do, get yourself a little tracker or some kind of notebook or a calendar, and just start tracking stuff that's important to you. Like sex and arguing is great because you can really see, like, what is the health? Oh, holy shit, we argue every day.
We did kiss and cuddle as well.
Yeah, but we do that all the time.
We do, yes, but some couples, past relationship, we don't remember the last time we kissed.
That's true.
Not a real kiss.
Yeah.
So
I will say, the first time that Sherrie and I kissed, it was like perfect kiss.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever kissed somebody in your life that's not so perfect, and maybe you're engaged to them for 5 years, and you're like, this isn't very fun kissing. But from this very first time we kissed, Sherrie and I, it was like perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's been basically perfect in some way. I mean, there's challenges, but yeah, maybe you start with kiss and cuddle or whatever it is. But for us, it's been great because then you can quantify and you can be proud, like, oh my gosh, like, we have a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And that's good. We're married. Like, we're in love. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. That's a part of a relationship. It's an important part of a relationship.
That also takes arguing about sex off the table.
Correct. Because
if it's showing good stuff.
When I'm angry, honestly, we used to lay in bed sometimes and I would like want to have sex. And Sherrie might have had a really bad day, or it's like she's ready to go to sleep. And I'm like, oh, all right, let's do it now.
I have that window of sleep.
Yeah. Where she can fall asleep. And I'd be like, we never have sex. You never want me, right? Which is, now that we've been tracking it,
I pull out that tracker and I'm like, this says different.
Yeah. It's been, 17 out of 20 days. Like, how?
That's a lot.
I'm not a machine, I'm pretty much a machine, though. I'm pretty proud of myself. But yeah, I think, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. It went a little bit longer than I had expected it to go, but we're going to put out a lot more of these where we just kind of talk about things that are important to us, whether it has to do with fitness. We own a gym, if you don't know that. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you probably know us. If you don't know us, we own a gym together. We work together. We're actually going down to one vehicle, so now we'll have no way to get away from each other other than Sherrie will have to ride her skateboard somewhere.
Skates.
Roller skates. Sherrie was a roller skate champion when she was growing up.
No.
Yes, she was. So, but yeah, look out for more episodes. And I think that's it. You have anything else to add?
I'm good.
Good?
Yeah.
Get a sex tracker. It's great.
It is great.
All right, guys. See you next time.